Welcome to College Football Roundtable, your source for college football coverage, including major storylines,
playoffs,
can't miss game previews, and picks each week. Join your hosts, Dan, Rob, and Jordan at the roundtable for a show unlike anything else. As for Football presents the College Football Roundtable.
The Mountaineers win a wild one. The Zoomies drop one they probably should have won. And the Demon Deacons get away despite suffering a classic Wake Forest collapse. What's up, Trash Talkers? Welcome back to College Football Roundtable, or if you prefer, Ring Knocker Radio. Although I am the only Ring Knocker today, I am your guest host, Dano Ikebesa. I'm joined by Trigger Joe today out of Atlanta. I think that's where you are today, Joe. How you doing?
Back in Michigan. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, your Wolverines got an unsurprising but quite big win over the famed Huskies of UConn.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot of surprise there other than the competition level for UConn. It wasn't really a fun one to watch for those kids. I think that program needs about 2 or 3 more years under Mora and some serious attention before they get back to the UConn of the early 2000s where they were making bowl games. It was kind of a bummer for UConn, but yeah, Michigan, no surprise. 59-0 and ended up covering that 47 and
yeah, I was sad about that.
Making me eat my words. Yep, sure did. But they look good.
Yeah, man. Well, you only win the team. Yeah, is UConn still playing that true freshman at quarterback?
Oh, I believe so.
It's not Tyler Pumachan, right? Stratford's own Tyler Pumachan. Yeah.
No, it's Zion something. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah. Oh, that's the 4-star transfer. I forget where he came from. All right, enough. I'm the only person that cares about UConn on this show. So I'm going to go take you through the top 10 since Rob is not here. Your current AP top 10 as they stand today. You have the 3-0 Georgia Bulldogs, 3-0 Alabama, 3-0 Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Oklahoma, Southern California, Kentucky, Oklahoma State, and Arkansas rounding out the top 10. All of those are 3-0. Other notables include number 11, Tennessee, number 13, Utah, number 15, Oregon, number 21, Wake Forest, and there is now zero representation from the group of 5 in the top 25. Others receiving votes, Florida State, Appalachian State, Cincinnati, Kansas, and Syracuse. Joe, Kansas has 23 votes in the AP poll. They're undefeated at 3-0. Is this a good Kansas team?
It's a heck of a lot better Kansas team than we've seen. I'm not sure where their test game is because as a normal college football fan, I kind of stopped paying attention to Kansas a while ago. But it's hard. They're not getting a lot of love because they've been so bad for so long. I think they probably should get a little more than they are, but they have to prove themselves against the top 20 team, in my opinion, before I'll call them for real. They're definitely a very massive improvement, and that's good for the state of Kansas overall.
So they are playing the equally undefeated Duke Blue Devils. I believe that's Kansas at Duke, but I might be mistaken about that. Does this constitute a test, an undefeated ACC team?
I think they have to look good and win convincingly for me to say that they showed me something that I don't already see against a Duke team. I'm not really a believer in Duke either, to be perfectly honest with you. But if they go in there and handle Duke at home, then I think they deserve to be in the top 25.
Interesting. All right. Well, listen, I don't think anybody college football bingo card when we started, and yet here we are talking about it. So anyway, let's get into Service Academy football. Navy had a much-needed bye this week after getting shellacked by Memphis. Army got a big win over FCS Villanova on 472 yards rushing. And the big news was that Air Force lost at Wyoming 17-14. Friends, this is the same Wyoming team that lost to Illinois 38-6 during week 0. The Cowboys managed to hold Air Force to just 171 yards rushing and to just 272 yards of total offense overall. Zeke Daniels, 7 of 14 passing for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns, carries for 6 yards. Brad Roberts, 16 carries for 54 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. Stop me if you've heard this one. Wyoming crashed the middle, shut down the midline play, and Air Force's offense came to a screeching halt. Air Force lost this game despite not turning the ball over, being +1 by getting an interception, and essentially they had to punt 5 times. So, it's Air Force's offense is great, but it's a little reminiscent of where Army was in 2016, 2017, with quarterback Ahmad Bradshaw running it. When those midline plays are not there, man, they weren't going nowhere. So, did you see any of that game by chance, Joe?
Yeah, I did actually, and you nailed it. And I'm going to sound like I'm playing repeater here, but unfortunately for Air Force, a lackluster Wyoming team showed that if you shut down the middle, there's not going to be any game-breaking plays that they make you pay for. And unless you have that, good teams are going to put 9 in the box. And unfortunately for Air Force, they didn't prove that they can work around that. And they lost. I mean, they were given 16.5 points, and that game scared me to death. So I was like, I'm not taking Air Force to cover that just because it's too early. You don't know. And look what happened. So
I thought they were going to put up 500 yards of total offense on Wyoming for sure. I was not tracking Wyoming as being like one of the better teams in the Mountain West. So
yeah,
we'll see. Anyway, upcoming Service Academy games. Army has a bye. We will host Georgia State on October 1st. Going to have most of my family at that one, I think. Air Force is at Nevada this Friday on Fox 4. Zoomies ought to get a win, but who knows? Life is weird. And Navy is at East Carolina at 6 p.m. on Saturday on ESPN Plus. Mids have a chance, Joe. What do you think?
Navy, say that they're where's Navy at this week?
East Carolina against the Pirates.
I kind of like ECU in that game. I think they have a chance if they can run the football and keep it off the ground. But ECU it's a tough place to go play and win if you're a mediocre team. That's out of anybody's element. I've worked on that campus, and football is the only dog in town. So tough place to go play and win if you haven't got it all figured out yet. And I think Navy doesn't. So I see ECU winning a close one there.
Yeah, I don't know how close I think it's going to be. Navy's defense has been pretty good, but East Carolina has really improved. They went to Annapolis last year, and Navy got a close win that set them rolling heading into the Army game. They got a lot out of that, so who knows? But yeah, man, I don't know. I think the Pirates are going to give them a shellacking.
Yeah, they
What's
maybe
that?
checked on ECU's calendar because of last year too. So who knows?
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
that was a heartbreaker. If you're a Pirate fan.
Oh, speaking of heartbreakers, we talked about them last week, and we talk about them every week. How about App State?
Oh my God, I saw the end of that game. It was wild.
The radio said
that
they
was
lost.
something.
The radio called out an L before the final play, and then those guys, they couldn't get listening to that radio call makes me feel good about this show because you couldn't hear a word. Those guys were just losing their minds when that ball came down.
Yeah, that was amazing. I gotta say that was like the play of the weekend. It was wild. I mean, even there was a bunch in the NFL. That Cardinals game got wild too, but the end of that App State game, that was something.
That's a testament to how much better of a crop of quarterback is coming to App State. For one reason, the kid threw the ball 65 yards in the air, and it was a rainbow.
Yeah,
Armani
sure.
Edwards wasn't doing that when they were winning 3 national titles in a row because that's not what they did. So it's just a testament to the type of prototype player that wants to play at the next level that's now coming to App State. So,
well,
otherwise they didn't have a quarterback 5 years ago that could throw it 60 yards in the air.
Paradoxically, I think that the transfer portal has really helped some of the upper tier group of 5 teams, because would you rather be the 5th defensive back at Tennessee, or would you like to start at App State? And that's true up and down the roster. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And so, here we are in this world where there's not one group of 5 team ranked in the top 25, but the reality is that level of talent might be more even than it has been in decades.
Yeah, this is a tricky week in college football because you got a little bit of a litmus test, and you've got a ton of teams who are undefeated that aren't ranked. So
yeah, that's true.
Still a little bit of separation needs to happen in the next couple of weeks here.
Yeah, I think once you get into October, you see who's for real and who isn't. I'm hoping Army finds themselves on the right side of that, but it will very much depend on what we see against Georgia State. Anyway, FCS academies this week. Coast Guard is now 1-2. They lost at Nichols 37-33. Merchant Marine Academy is 1-1. They beat SUNY Maritime 48-13. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that sort of plays out when they get to the Coast Guard versus Merchant Marine game, which I think is their big game of the year, their big rivalry game. Joe, who's your Blue Falcon this week?
Oh my goodness. I hate to do it, but number 7, safety for Troy. I know your heart's broken, but as a child, I watched Chuck Winters. I still remember his name, bat a ball in the air. That ball just so happened to be thrown 75 yards by Cordell Stewart and caught by Michael Westbrook in the end zone that I was sitting. Yes, I was at that game. So I hate it for you, kid, but they teach you in school when the Hail Mary's up, bat that thing to the ground because then the play's dead. Don't try to come down with a pick because everyone's going to be trying to rip that ball out of your hands. And you could see he tried to two-hand it thinking the game was over and didn't take into account that another set of hands was coming in there to punch that thing, and that's what happened. So hate to do it to you, kid, but collect your T-shirt. If you would have just swatted it to the ground, you guys come away with a win.
Yeah, I agree completely. I thought that too, exactly when that play happened. I'm like, dude, bat the ball down. But anyway, it's easier said than done, right?
Sure. Yep.
So games of the week, there are a lot of interesting games this week. I'm going to try to run through these fairly quickly. And you can tell me as we're sort of going through which ones have piqued your interest. We'll start Thursday, September 22nd, Coastal Carolina at Georgia State, West Virginia at Virginia Tech. That Coastal game is pretty interesting if you're an Army fan, because obviously we already played Coastal. Georgia State is coming up next. I can't decide who we want to win, but I think a Coastal victory followed by Army beating Georgia State is probably better than Georgia State getting the win, but we'll see. Any interest there?
You know, I might play a little bit with that point spread based on what they've done in the past, but yeah, I'd like to see a preview of Georgia State. You know, no NCO likes to see Army have an off year, so I'd like to see Georgia State come into Army competitive.
Well, we'll talk about this on the. We'll talk about this more on the other show next week, but Georgia State's got a good running game, but their quarterback, like, he leaves something to be desired. So anyway, Friday, September 23rd, you've got a good slate: Virginia at Syracuse, Nevada at Air Force, Boise State at UTEP. I'm pretty interested in Virginia at Syracuse. Work with a decent number of Syracuse fans. Think Boise State at UTEP might get interesting. Nevada at Air Force, that's probably going to be a murder. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like to see the UTEP and Boise State game, to be honest with you. You said Boise State and UTEP, right?
Yes. Boise State at UTEP.
I do mess with a lot of those lines with UTSA and UTEP. I don't know why. It's just something that I've always done when I've bet, because those teams seem to have it in them where they play up a notch. But I think that's going to be actually a lot closer game than people think. Boise State, because of the name, will probably get a lot of part-time fans, you know, to pick. Yeah, they should go in there and win. But UTEP they've done some things in the last couple of years where it's really shocked me, and should be interesting. I love watching those games on primetime too. So it's a Friday night game. I'll probably tune into that one.
Saturday, from noon to 2 p.m., you got Maryland at number 4, Michigan, number 5, Clemson at number 21, Wake Forest. I'm interested in that one. Number 17, Baylor at Iowa State, TCU at Southern Methodist, Missouri at Auburn, and as we discussed, Duke at Kansas on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I'm going to go ahead and check out Duke and Kansas because, you know, obviously my Wolverines are playing. I'll be working on a pretty important job that day. So I had tickets, but I turned them down for the Big Ten opener.
That's awful.
I really would like to see the Michigan get tested. And McCarthy stay
healthy. I don't
healthy
think Maryland's going to do it.
Well, they're 3-0, and Tua's little brother, I always say their last name wrong, is actually hanging up some big numbers. They got a couple of decent defensive backs, and I like the fact that they're 3-0 because I got Michigan winning that game 38-21, and Michigan's given, or 38-17, and Michigan's given 16.5 points. So I think that line is very attainable. So I'll be watching that and probably taking the Wolverines to cover that game.
Late afternoon kickoffs, Minnesota at Michigan State, number 22, Texas at Texas Tech, number 20, Florida at number 11, Tennessee, third Saturday in September. That was always a big one growing up in my house.
Yeah.
Indiana at Cincinnati, Notre Dame at North Carolina, number 15, Oregon at Washington State. We talked a little bit about Navy at ECU, and finally Rice at Houston. Both these teams also undefeated. So
Crazy.
yeah, man, what a world.
It's gonna be Florida and Tennessee for me. I'm gonna be watching that game wholeheartedly, and I hate to say it because it's Colonel Rob wouldn't like it, and I don't like saying it either. But I actually have Tennessee probably covering the 10 there. I just like their competition level better than Florida's. As far as how they've done against, who they went in and beat Pitt at home.
Yeah.
And I know
Ugly
that
game,
Florida has the Utah win. But I don't know if Utah's for real. There's a lot of questions to be answered, but for some reason, I see a lot of picks and not a lot of yards coming off that Florida quarterback. And when the stats are reversed, I just looked at the game. It looks like Tennessee is really got it clicking on offense, and I see them winning this game by 2 scores, 28-14 type thing. So I like the -10.5, and I'll definitely be watching that game.
I got one more question for you, quick. Notre Dame going to turn it around this weekend at North Carolina?
Oh, they have to. I mean, they have to,
right? Yeah.
Be interesting.
Finally, primetime matchups. Number 10, Arkansas at number 23, Texas A&M. Marshall at Troy. Another interesting game there. Wisconsin at number 3, Ohio State. Kansas State at number 6, Oklahoma. Wisconsin's just going to get murdered, yeah?
Yeah, I think Wisconsin was getting a number next to their name because they're Wisconsin, and I'm not really sure why. I think they go in and Ohio State rolls on them.
All right, so let's pick some games.
Weekly locks.
I went 0-2 last week. Penn State crushed Auburn, and Michigan's third stringers crushed UConn. I am not sure where that puts me on the season, but I know that I'm in the negative. On our cruiserweight title belt picks contest, I'm at -6 on the season. So, tough couple weeks for me. 2-2. Oh, that's good.
I lost the same 2 games that you did. I picked UConn and Auburn. But I did take LSU to over Mississippi State, and I did take Oklahoma to roll on Nebraska, and they sure did.
Cool. Well, my picks this week, I'm taking Coastal State. Coastal's rushing defense is underrated, and State can't do anything but run the football. I really don't think this game is going to be close. I understand that a lot of Georgia State fans are saying, we're better than our record suggests. I'm not convinced. Y'all lost last week to Charlotte in a way that I thought was sort of convincing, and that's not good. My other pick this week is Florida at Tennessee over 62.5.
Beautiful.
We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of points. I don't know that I believe in much at Tennessee at Florida. I don't know that I believe much about this game at all, except that it's just going to be sloppy and crazy plays are going to happen.
Yeah.
What do you got for me, Joe?
I like my Wolverines 16.5 against a Maryland team. We're leading the nation in offense. We're 4th in the nation in defense. And I see Michigan starting off the Big Ten season with a vicious ground attack against Maryland, and then a couple of home runs over the top, and 42, 38, 17 around there. And Michigan, I see them covering. So I know I don't quite believe in Clemson yet, but I don't necessarily believe in Wake either. And I like Clemson to go in there -7 and beat Wake, who, if Liberty scores a 2-pointer, Wake loses last week. So I got Clemson
that's true.
-7.
What's the over-under on that game? Do you have it up?
You know what? Let me just double check that real quick for you. Clemson over-under.
It's going to be 100, I'm sure.
55 on the Clemson.
Oh my God. I'm going to add that. I'm going to smash the over 55. Clemson at Wake Forest.
That's your hot take pick. All right.
It sure is.
Beautiful. And then I got Ole Miss, whose offense seems like it's finally Ole Miss's offense, and they're hanging big numbers up, giving 21.5 to Tulsa. I see that 2-1 from Tulsa does not really move the needle for me. They're going into Ole Miss, and I see Ole Miss hanging a big number on them here. 42-7.
That might happen.
So those are my 3 picks. I like Michigan minus 16.5, Clemson minus 7, and Ole Miss minus 21.5 against Tulsa at home.
I love it. Well, friends, let us know in the comments or however you interact with As for Football what your picks are for this week. Until next week, I am Dano E. Cabeza. We are obviously missing Rob and his picks. He was on a live fire today, getting to shoot some ammunition, which as a retired guy, he told me he was quite enjoying. My favorite thing this week is just that it's a bye week. I've had a little extra time, which I badly needed in addition to the Army team needing it. So thanks for joining us. You know what? Go Pirates, beat Navy.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the As for Football College Football Roundtable. Please join us again soon for another episode of the College Football Roundtable, and be on the lookout for the next Army football show. Please continue to follow us on all social media platforms at As for Football. We thank you for your continued support of As for Football, the Black Knights football team, and Army athletics. And as always, beat Navy.